Good morning. What an exciting time this is to be connecting with colleagues, meeting new friends, and chatting about the future of AI. I am so grateful to be with you for the next 20 minutes as I share pathways to a diverse workforce in data careers. We are living in a pivotal time right now where the way we work and interact is rapidly changing. And this is changing due to increased automation and digitalization. The funny thing about change is it's like air around us. It's all around us, but we don't recognize it until we take a second to bring our attention and awareness to the air. And so today I want to bring our attention to the change that's happening all around us and how we continue to move forward consciously by creating pathways for diverse audiences to work within data and AI. Whether you recognize it or not, the average American spends 7 hours per day on a screen. That's 50% of your waking time. And you may be thinking about that statistic and say, yes, that's me, or I'm way over that statistic with remote work and the screen time that we spend. And so we have to recognize that the majority of our time now is spent already in a digital means. And while the talk of the metaverse is on the horizon, and I'm very excited about what possibilities this may unlock, we are already living in a digital world alongside a real personal world and 3D dimension. And so as this rapid change in technology is happening with digitalization, we need to be conscientious about how we move forward. One of the changes that has happened as we work more in a digital space, more information is being created. And that information being created is data. And that data then needs to be understood and used and processed so we can work in a way that is seamless. Therefore, it's easy to say that our world is increasingly run by data and algorithms. And this is due to our increased interconnectivity and digitalization. And today we'll hear a lot about all the opportunity that exists with AI, the exciting things people are doing and how they're innovating. But I want us to be conscientious as we move forward in this space, because we are living in a pivotal time. And while there are many benefits to AI, there unfortunately have been some unintended consequences. And one of the first unintended consequences is bias at scale. We may be familiar with bias in AI through facial recognition, resume screening, and an age-old algorithm through credit scoring. But I want to bring attention to something that doesn't get noted often, which is bias in just traditional decision making. Bias in the data that is or isn't represented. And the issue with bias in AI is that while each of us may have had an encounter with an individual where we knew that they were being biased in their actions and decisions to us, that individual's decisions now can be encoded into an algorithm and scaled to thousands of people. And so we must move consciously in this space so that bias does not extend into a future that we do not intend for. The second unintended consequence is a big shift in how we work. And it's estimated that by 2025, 85 million jobs are at risk for automation. However, there is good news on this front, and that is that 97 new roles will be added. Therefore, the problem we're facing today is one of an upskilling and a reskilling problem. And it's estimated that 50% of the workforce will need to reskill by 2025. And finally, the third unintended consequence is an unequal distribution of benefit. Most of us have heard that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And what does that mean? You're the product because you're creating data and information that someone else can use. And while this is great opportunity, we want to make sure that as we move forward in this space, that distribution of benefit is spread across all, so that all can truly own their data and take action within the benefit that it produces. So how do we move forward in this space? To move forward in this space, we need full participation. And to do that, we need equal representation of individuals leading and creating from the use of data and algorithms. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about how we move forward in that space and what the current state of diversity looks like in data careers. Today, females represent only 15% of data scientists. If we look at other minority groups such as Hispanic, Latino, and Latina, we see 6%, 3% for Black and African American, and only 6% with a disability. Today in the US, 1 in 4 Americans have a disability, and you can see that from this number we are far off from having that equal representation in this future of technology that we are creating. And while there are many ways to look at diversity from a gender, ethnic standpoint, even from a neurodiversity, we need to make sure that we are being inclusive in who we're including in the conversation. So how do we create a path forward? How do we create a path forward where we can make sure that we have equal participation as we shape the future with algorithms in this space? And to do that, we do it through 3 areas: awareness, education, and empowerment. I love the saying, you can't be what you can't see, because this truly summarizes awareness perfectly. And while information is so readily available to us today, we live in a bit of an echo chamber based on our past search history and likes. And sometimes it can be difficult to break out of this echo chamber so we can have access to the opportunity that is available. Now, everyone sitting here today has broken out of that echo chamber and knows about the opportunity within AI and the possibilities. So you can count yourself lucky in this space. However, we all have the opportunity to provide more awareness in this space. At Women in Data, we do this through a lot of different means, through our podcast, to sharing stories of individuals working in this space and the exciting work they're doing, through hosting and events, through our chapters and groups. But more importantly, we all have an opportunity to provide awareness. So let me tell you a little bit about what awareness looks like in action. And this is the story of Rebecca. Please note I've changed the names of all individuals I share stories of to protect their privacy and anonymity. Rebecca was 35, and she found herself working at a job that she knew was at risk of automation. She had recently gone through a divorce and was left to take care of her 10-year-old son. And she was worried about her economic prospects and being able to care for her family. And so she knew she needed to make a change, and she was working as someone who entered data into a system and knew that that soon would be automated. So using the term data, she searched up what other options there were with data and was able to find Women in Data. She joined our mentorship program, and in the first month, everyone in the mentorship program is encouraged to write out their life story. When Rebecca wrote her life story out, she realized that in high school she loved statistics. And she completely forgot that she had this love of statistics. And when she came into the program and did her monthly reflection, she said, I wish someone would have told me what I could do with statistics. I wouldn't have spent countless time in college looking around for the perfect major. I wish someone would have told me all the opportunity and job possibilities of how I could apply this skill. But thankfully, Rebecca did not get discouraged because she wasn't told in high school of what she could do with that skill. Rebecca took that as motivation to continue to learn and upskill and reskill herself. And a year later, she was able to find a job as a data analyst in a healthcare company. And just this past week, I received a letter from her where she said, I am so, so grateful because now I'm able to not only care for my son, but work in a job where I love, one that truly represents who I am and what I can do with my skill set. And while Rebecca's story is really inspiring, we all have a role to play in spreading awareness. As mentioned, count ourselves lucky that we're here today and have awareness to this technology and the opportunity that's available with AI. And so as leaders in organizations, it's important that we break out of our own echo chambers and meet individuals where they are by sharing the opportunity of what we're doing in this space and the jobs we have available and the skill sets that we have. As individuals, we also have the opportunity to break outside of our closed networks. And I would encourage you even today, later on today as we have networking, to break outside maybe your comfort zone of who you talk to and go expand your network. and actively participate in DE&I communities to share your knowledge. And while awareness is essential, it alone will not get us to where we need to be to create these pathways for diverse audiences. We must educate. Gone are the days in education where you pick a major and then you work in that career for 40 years. Today, it's estimated that individuals will switch their career 3 to 4 times in their lifetime in order to keep up with the rapid pace of technology and change. And so today, some of the challenges that we're facing in education is one of that continual learning and upskilling and reskilling. Thankfully, we have access to information and education more readily available through MOOCs and boot camps and YouTube and blogs and events such as this one. So the challenges in education today for many individuals are, what do I learn? There's so much information available. Where do I go to learn? How do I have the time to be able to learn? Do I have the support to learn? And how do I get that hands-on experience to be able to apply my learning? At Women in Data, we try and solve some of these problems through creating curated learning pathways, hands-on experience through residency programs and datathons, and provide access to young minds and girls through our data curiosity programs for 7th and 12th grade. However, we all have a role to play. And what this looks like in action is best described in the story of Countess. Countess worked in an operations role and took a career break to be able to have her children and care for them. She wanted to get back in the workforce, but knew that operations just really wasn't the place for her. So she learned a little bit more about what was happening in data science, but had never taken a coding class before and was very nervous on where to start. So she joined a week of code and thought that that was the right amount to get started. You can't fail too much in 1 week, so that's a perfect bite-sized dose to get your feet in the door. She was able to quickly learn and connect with other people who supported her along the way, and that then encouraged her to go back and get a boot camp. Through the boot camp, she got a certificate in data science, and it was due to the support of her husband helping care for her children as she took the time to upskill and reskill. Today, Countess is now working as a data scientist, and recently she asked our community whether or not she should include gender as a predictive variable predicting financial analysts' sales performance. It's amazing what happens when we provide education to diverse audiences, and they're on the front lines creating and using these algorithms. They bring a perspective and a voice to the room that is needed. And so all of us have an opportunity to play a role in education. As leaders in organizations, we must provide access to education as the majority of our workforce needs to upskill and reskill. But more importantly, we need to create the time and those curated pathways so that they understand what they're learning and how it will be applied to their job. As individuals, and we're continually upskilling and reskilling ourselves, the best way to learn is to teach. And so if you're looking to learn, take your work that you've learned and share your work. Mentor others, guide interns, and coach people. And finally, we must empower. While we continue to share awareness and education, we must empower one another. And as it's essential to get individuals into the roles to begin with, we must empower them to move up to become leaders and to become change makers. One of the things we're facing with empowerment today is that retention is a major problem in the workforce. And one of the factors that we see for retaining employees is that they list a toxic work culture for the reason for why they do not stay in the workforce. When the recent MIT Salone Management Review dived into this a bit further, they found that the number one indicator for a toxic work culture was that they weren't promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this affects all individuals, not just diverse individuals. However, recently, women have suffered a bit more in this space. And another recent study from Deloitte found that over half of non-managerial and middle management women plan to leave within the next 2 years. So if we want to change the pathways for diverse audiences in this space, we must support them not just at the beginning of their career, but at the mid-level of their career, and at those key points enabled to get them into management positions and continue to support them while they're in those management positions. What this looks like is from the story of Indu. Indu was a chief data and analytics officer and was considering leaving the field altogether because she was tired of dealing with a toxic work culture. Thankfully, she was able to connect with others in the community and find opportunities that built her confidence and was able to stay in her career. However, all of us have the opportunity to empower one another. As leaders and organizations, it's important that we're empowering not just by what we say our values are, but the actions of what we do. And to do this, we must celebrate and reward those behaviors we want to foster. As individuals in this room today, we must empower by being a sponsor and/or ally. All of us have the opportunity to stand alongside one another, to support, to speak up, and to be that advocate. So what happens when we provide awareness, education, and empowerment? There are three main outcomes: one at an individual level, at a business level, and at a societal level. At an individual level, we see an overall sense of well-being, whether that be an economic well-being or a mental well-being. From a business level, the easiest way to summarize this is growth. Businesses who have a diverse workforce have higher revenues, increased innovation, and collaboration, leading to long-term sustainability and growth. And at a societal level, we see sustainable ecosystems. Most of us will not step outside very much during this conference, but once you get the chance to do, it doesn't take but a second to look out in nature and see that our nature is diverse. And it's the biodiversity that has allowed us to survive and thrive for thousands of years. And so as a society, when we foster this diversity, we see sustainable ecosystems through the AI that we're creating to make sure it's equally distributed for all, to create sustainable ecosystems so that the jobs of today and tomorrow people are able to easily transition into, and sustainable ecosystems so that the information and data and algorithms that we're creating are equally distributed and beneficial for all. So today I ask you, how will you create a pathway for a diverse workforce? Will you be an advocate and speak up for those who aren't in the room? Will you be an ally and support and sponsor? Will you be a sponsor and coach and mentor and guide? Or will you be a role model, being someone who yourself have already broken down barriers and have the opportunity to share your story? We all have a role to play, and this is a very exciting time. I love technology, and I'm excited about what we can do with AI, but I want to make sure that we are moving forward consciously as we are creating the future, not just for ourselves, for the next generations to come. I believe we all have the power and opportunity to create a world where all can use and benefit from data. And so I look forward to working alongside you, and I look forward to creating with you.